She was 7 months pregnant, covered in mud, standing on a Manhattan street corner while her ex-husband laughed. "You'll kill this baby just like you killed ours," Garrett said, his new girlfriend giggling beside him. "Your broken body can't carry a child. And who is that desperate fool that got you pregnant?" Vanessa stood there, shaking, unable to speak, groceries destroyed at her feet, humiliation soaking through her clothes. Garrett sped off in his Porsche, never knowing he just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because the desperate fool who got Vanessa pregnant is the one man Garrett never expected. And you're about to find out who he is. Join me as we dive into this powerful story. But before we do, my ex-husband spat on my face and said I will never get to 2,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. I want you and I to prove his doubts wrong. Kindly click on the subscribe button below, like and share this video to your friends and families. Thank you. Now let's dive in. The rain had just stopped when Vanessa Clark stepped out of the small corner grocery store on Madison Avenue, her arms wrapped around 2 paper bags filled with fresh vegetables and baby supplies. She was 7 months pregnant, her belly round and prominent beneath a simple navy maternity dress she'd bought from Target. Her hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, no makeup on her face, just the natural glow that came with carrying life. She looked nothing like the woman she used to be. The woman who wore designer labels and carried handbags that cost more than most people's monthly rent. The woman who attended gallery openings in Soho and charity balls in the Upper East Side. That woman was gone, buried under the weight of betrayal and loss and a grief so profound it had nearly destroyed her. But today, standing on that corner with the autumn sun breaking through the clouds, Vanessa felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. She was crossing the street, one hand protectively cradling her belly the way all pregnant women do, when she heard the engine rev. It was aggressive, intentional, the kind of sound that makes you look up. A silver Porsche Cayenne was speeding toward a massive puddle that had formed near the curb, rainwater mixed with oil and street grime, dark and murky and deep. Vanessa barely had time to process what was happening before the impact. A wall of filthy water exploded over her body. It hit her face, her chest, soaked through her dress, covered her pregnant belly in cold, disgusting sludge that smelled like sewage and gasoline and rot. The paper bags fell from her arms, groceries scattering across the wet pavement, apples rolling into the gutter, baby bottles cracking on the concrete. She stood there, frozen, dripping, her hands instinctively moving to protect her stomach. Her breath came in short, shocked gasps. People on the street stopped to stare. Someone whispered, "Oh my God!" A teenager pulled out their phone and started recording. The Porsche stopped. The window rolled down slowly, deliberately, like the driver wanted to savor this moment. And when Vanessa saw the face behind the wheel, her entire body went cold. Not from the muddy water, from recognition, from memory, from a pain she thought she'd buried deep enough that it couldn't hurt her anymore. Garrett Westfield, her ex-husband, the man who had promised to love her in sickness and in health, the man who had abandoned her in the hospital when she needed him most, the man who had called her worthless, broken, a failure as a woman when the doctors told them she could never carry a baby to term. And now he was sitting in his expensive car, wearing his expensive suit with his expensive new girlfriend beside him, looking at Vanessa like she was trash he'd just run over. "Oh my God," Garrett said, his voice dripping with mock surprise and genuine delight. "Vanessa? Is that really you?" The woman beside him, a blonde with too much Botox and too little conscience, let out a high-pitched giggle. "Garrett, you're terrible. Is that actually your ex-wife?" "In the flesh," Garrett said, leaning out the window to get a better look. His eyes traveled over Vanessa's soaked body with undisguised contempt. "Still shopping at regular grocery stores, I see. Still living that budget life. Some things never change." Vanessa's mouth opened, but no words came out. She just stood there, 7 months pregnant, covered in filth, staring at the man who had destroyed her. Garrett's eyes landed on her stomach. His smile widened, sharp and cruel, like a knife finding soft flesh. Wait, are you pregnant?" Vanessa's hands tightened protectively over her belly. She said nothing. She couldn't. The memories were flooding back too fast. The hospital room. The tiny coffin. The doctor saying, "I'm sorry, but the damage is too severe. Your chances of carrying another pregnancy are less than 5%. Garrett's laughter was vicious, designed to wound. "Oh, this is rich. Vanessa, who's the desperate fool who actually got you pregnant? We both know your defective body can't carry a child." The blonde girlfriend gasped, but she was smiling, clearly entertained by the cruelty unfolding in front of her. "Does he know?" Garrett continued, his voice rising so people on the street could hear. "Does this idiot know that you're broken? That you killed our baby? That every doctor in Manhattan told you you're basically infertile?" Each word was a bullet, each sentence a knife. Vanessa felt her knees weaken. She felt the familiar wave of shame and self-loathing that Garrett had spent 4 years programming into her brain. The voice that said, "He's right. You are broken. You are worthless. You don't deserve this baby. You'll kill this one too. I always wondered what happened to you after the divorce," Garrett said, revving his engine again. "Guess you're still exactly where I left you. Poor, pathetic, pretending you're something you're not." The blonde touched his arm. "Baby, she looks miserable enough. Does she?" Garrett's grin was pure malice. "I think she looks exactly like what she is. A desperate woman clinging to a miracle that won't happen. You know how I know? Because miracles don't happen to failures." He leaned further out the window, making sure Vanessa heard every word. "Good luck keeping that baby alive, Vanessa. We both know how that story ends. You'll be burying this one just like you buried ours. And then maybe you'll finally accept what I tried to tell you for years. You were never meant to be a mother." The Porsche sped off, tires screeching, leaving Vanessa standing in a puddle of filthy water, destroyed groceries at her feet, dignity shattered, 7 months pregnant and covered in mud that smelled like everything rotten in the world. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The street sounds faded into a distant hum. All she could hear was Garrett's voice, present and past, blending together into one continuous assault. "You killed our baby. You're broken. You're worthless. You'll kill this one too." A woman approached cautiously. "Miss, are you okay? Should I call someone?" Vanessa's hands were shaking so badly she could barely pull her phone from her purse. The screen was wet, covered in muddy fingerprints. She dialed the number she'd been calling every day for the past 7 months. The number that represented everything Garrett said would never happen for her. Safety, love, a future that didn't involve shame and loss. He answered on the first ring. "Hey, beautiful. How's grocery shopping with our little guy?" Vanessa's voice cracked. "Theo, something happened. Can you come get me?" There was a pause. Then Theo's voice changed completely, from warm and relaxed to sharp and focused. "Where are you? Are you hurt? Is the baby okay?" "I'm okay. The baby's okay. I need you. I'm already in the car. Stay exactly where you are. I'm 8 minutes away." It was 6 minutes. A black Mercedes S-Class with diplomatic plates pulled up to the curb. 2 men in dark suits stepped out first, scanning the area like Secret Service agents protecting the president. Then Theodore Ashford emerged from the back seat. Theo was not a man who drew attention through volume or aggression. He drew attention through presence. 6'2", broad shoulders, the kind of calm authority that comes from being born into power and raised to wield it responsibly. He wore a simple gray sweater and dark jeans, but everything about him screamed wealth, education, legacy. The moment he saw Vanessa, covered in mud, shaking, crying, hands protectively cradling their baby, his face shifted from concern to something cold and lethal, something dangerous. He crossed the distance between them in 3 strides and wrapped his coat around her shoulders. "Who did this?" Vanessa tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. She just cried harder, her body shaking with sobs she'd been holding back for 3 years. Theo held her face gently in his hands, his thumbs wiping away muddy tears. "Baby, I need you to breathe. Just breathe with me. In and out. That's it. Good. Now tell me what happened." Between sobs, Vanessa told him everything. The car, the puddle, Garrett's face, the words he said, the cruelty, the laughter, the comment about killing this baby too. With each sentence, Theo's jaw clenched tighter. His eyes went darker, but his hands remained gentle on her face, his voice soft and steady. Do you know whose car it was? My ex-husband, Garrett Westfield. One of the security guards spoke quietly into his phone. Within seconds, he nodded to Theo. Sir, we have the license plate on camera. The vehicle is registered to Garrett Westfield, CEO of Westfield Properties. Manhattan address, office in Midtown. Theo helped Vanessa into the car, settling her into the warm leather seat, buckling her seatbelt carefully around her pregnant belly. He knelt on the wet pavement beside the open door, looking up at her with eyes full of something fierce and protective. Vanessa, I need you to listen to me very carefully, Theo said, his voice quiet but absolute. What that man did to you today, what he said to you, none of it was true. None of it. You are not broken. You are not worthless. You are carrying our son, healthy and strong. Because miracles do happen and you deserve every single one of them. Fresh tears spilled down Vanessa's cheeks. But what if he's right? What if he's not? Theo's voice was firm. And I'm going to make sure he never gets the chance to hurt you again. Theo, don't do anything. I'm not going to hurt him, Theo said. And the small smile that touched his lips was not comforting. It was the smile of a man who knew exactly how much power he held and exactly how he was going to use it. I'm just going to have a conversation, a very public conversation, with some friends who owe my family favors. Vanessa didn't understand what he meant. Not yet, because Vanessa didn't fully understand who Theodore Ashford was. Not really. She knew he came from money. She knew his father was influential, but she didn't know the full extent of it. She didn't know that the Ashford name carried the kind of weight that could rearrange entire industries with a phone call. She was about to find out. Dear viewer, where around the globe are you watching from? Texas, Canada, Jamaica, maybe Australia or the United Kingdom? Tell us in the comments below. We want to know. Now let's continue. 3 years earlier, Vanessa Clark had made the biggest mistake of her life. She married Garrett Westfield. They met at a fundraiser for the Museum of Modern Art. Vanessa was 24, fresh out of Columbia with a degree in art history, working as a junior curator at a small gallery in Chelsea. She made $42,000 a year, lived in a studio apartment in Astoria with 2 roommates, and genuinely loved her life. Garrett was 30, confident, magnetic, the kind of man who commanded attention when he walked into a room. He owned Westfield Properties, a luxury real estate development company specializing in high-end residential buildings across Manhattan. He made millions. He drove a Maserati. He wore suits that cost more than Vanessa's monthly rent. When he asked for her number, Vanessa thought it was a mistake. Men like Garrett didn't date women like her. But Garrett was persistent. Flowers at her gallery. Dinner at restaurants where you needed reservations 3 months in advance. Weekend trips to the Hamptons. He made Vanessa feel like Cinderella, like she'd been chosen for something special. They were married within a year. Small ceremony, 200 guests, venue overlooking Central Park. Vanessa wore a Vera Wang dress. Garrett wrote his own vows, promising to love her, protect her, build a life with her that would be extraordinary. For the first 18 months, it was beautiful. Garrett bought Vanessa things she never asked for. Designer clothes, expensive jewelry, a new car. He upgraded her wardrobe, scheduled her hair appointments at the salons where celebrities went, took her to parties where she rubbed shoulders with people she'd only seen in magazines. Vanessa told herself it was love, that he just wanted her to fit into his world, that she needed to be grateful. But slowly, subtly, things started to change. Garrett began commenting on her clothes. You can't wear that to dinner with my investors. You're a Westfield now. He bought her new outfits without asking what she liked. He started controlling her schedule, her friends, her career. When Vanessa got promoted at the gallery, Garrett said, "That's nice, but maybe it's time you quit. My wife doesn't need to work." Vanessa didn't quit. She loved her job. But the arguments started. The cold silences. The nights Garrett didn't come home. Then Vanessa got pregnant. She cried when she saw the positive test. Happy tears. She imagined a little girl with Garrett's dark eyes and her smile. They'd name her Isabella. Garrett seemed excited at first. He told his business partners, sent out announcements, posted about it on social media like it was a company achievement. But then the pregnancy became inconvenient. Vanessa had severe morning sickness. She was exhausted. She couldn't attend events. Garrett grew frustrated. You need to push through it, Vanessa. I have clients to impress. My reputation matters. At 6.5 months pregnant, Vanessa was at the gallery installing a new exhibit when she felt the cramping. Sharp, violent, wrong. She called Garrett 14 times. He was in a meeting closing a $30 million deal. He didn't answer. A colleague drove Vanessa to Mount Sinai Hospital. The doctors tried everything, but baby Isabella was born silent. 26 weeks, perfectly formed, gone. Vanessa held her daughter's tiny body, screaming for Garrett to come, to see her, to hold their baby just once. He arrived 9 hours later, still in his suit, smelling like whiskey and cologne. He stood at the foot of the hospital bed, uncomfortable, checking his phone. The doctor said these things happen. It's probably for the best. We can try again when you're healthier. Vanessa looked at him holding their dead daughter and felt something inside her die that wasn't the baby. The doctor came in later after Garrett had left to handle some calls. The news was worse than losing Isabella. Mrs. Westfield, I'm very sorry. The trauma to your uterus was severe. The chances of you carrying another pregnancy to term are extremely low. We estimate around 4 to 6%. Vanessa was 26 years old, lying in a hospital bed, being told her body was broken. When she told Garrett, his response was 4 words. So you're basically infertile. Not, I'm sorry. Not, we'll figure it out. Just that word. Infertile. Like she was damaged goods. A failed investment. From that moment on, Garrett used it like a weapon. At dinner parties, we'd love kids, but Vanessa has complications, said with just enough emphasis to make it sound like a character flaw. During arguments, maybe if you could give me a family, I'd have a reason to come home. To justify his affairs, I'm 32 years old. I need an heir. You can't provide that. Vanessa spent the next 2.5 years as a ghost in her own marriage. She went to therapy 3 times a week, took medication for depression and anxiety, worked at the gallery during the day, and came home to a man who looked at her like she'd failed him. Garrett's affairs became obvious. Late nights, lipstick on collars, perfume that wasn't hers. A woman named Crystal started appearing at company events as his executive assistant. Everyone knew. Vanessa knew. But she stayed. Because some part of her believed Garrett was right. That she was broken. That no one else would want her. That she deserved this. Until the night she came home early from a gallery event and found Garrett in their bed with Crystal. Both naked. Both laughing. Garrett saw Vanessa standing in the doorway and didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. He sat up, completely casual, like she'd interrupted a business call. Maybe if you were more exciting, I wouldn't need to look elsewhere. And maybe if you weren't infertile, I'd have a reason to stay faithful. Vanessa packed a bag that night. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely zip it. She filed for divorce the next morning. Garrett didn't fight it. Good, he said. I need someone who can actually give me a legacy. But Garrett didn't just let her go quietly. He told everyone. Their friends, his business partners, their families, that Vanessa was the one who cheated, that she destroyed their marriage, that she was unstable, broken, couldn't be trusted. He painted himself as the victim and Vanessa as the villain. For 14 months after the divorce, Vanessa believed him. Vanessa was living in a small 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, barely making rent on her gallery salary, going to therapy every Tuesday evening, when her college friend Maya dragged her to a charity event. You need to get out, Maya insisted. Meet people. This is for children's literacy. You love books. It's perfect. Vanessa almost said no. She'd spent 14 months rebuilding herself piece by piece, and the thought of being in a room full of strangers felt exhausting. But something made her say yes. Maybe it was the part of her that refused to let Garrett's voice win. She wore a simple black dress, the first dress she'd bought for herself in years. No one chose it for her. No one told her it wasn't good enough. It was hers. The event was at a beautiful venue in Brooklyn Heights, all soft lighting and elegant decorations. But Vanessa felt out of place immediately. Everyone looked expensive, important, like they belonged in rooms like this. She was about to leave when she saw a man in a plain white shirt and dark jeans helping set up tables near the back. He wasn't barking orders at staff or checking his phone. He was just helping, rolling up his sleeves, moving chairs, genuinely present. Vanessa walked over. "Do you need a hand?" The man looked up and smiled. Genuine, warm, the kind of smile that reaches the eyes and stays there. "I'd love one. Actually, I'm terrible at making these rows even." They worked in silence for a few minutes, arranging tables, and then he said, "I'm Theodore, by the way, but everyone calls me Theo." "Vanessa." "So, Vanessa, what brings you here tonight?" She expected the usual small talk. "What do you do? Where do you live?" All the questions that felt like social auditions. But Theo didn't ask any of that. Instead, he said, "What's your favorite book?" And just like that, they spent 3 hours talking. About books, about art, about the magic of watching a child discover reading for the first time, about how stories could save people. Theo listened like her words mattered, like she mattered, not because of who she was married to or how much money she made or whether she could give him something, just because of who she was. When he asked for her number, Vanessa hesitated. Her hand instinctively went to her stomach, a habit she developed after the miscarriage, like she was protecting a wound that never healed. "I'm not really ready for coffee," Theo interrupted gently. "Just coffee." As friends who both think The Little Prince is criminally underrated as literature. Vanessa laughed, really laughed. For the first time in over a year, they met for coffee 4 days later. Then dinner. Then long walks through Prospect Park where Theo talked about his work in family business operations, but never elaborated. Vanessa assumed he worked for some corporate firm. She didn't care. He was kind, patient. He never pushed, never demanded. When Vanessa told him about her divorce, Theo didn't ask for details. When she cried, telling him about Isabella, about the miscarriage, about being told she was infertile, Theo held her hand across the table and said nothing, because nothing needed to be said. 5 months into dating, Theo took Vanessa to meet his father. "There's something I need to tell you first," he said, and Vanessa's stomach dropped. Here it comes, she thought. He's married. He's moving. He doesn't want this anymore. "My last name is Ashford," Theo said quietly. Vanessa blinked. "Okay, Theodore Ashford. My father is William Ashford." The name hit Vanessa like cold water. William Ashford. The William Ashford. Billionaire. Founder of Ashford Global Industries. $15 billion. Real estate. Technology. Media. Government contracts. One of the most powerful families in America. Vanessa stood up so fast she almost knocked over her chair. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to know me. Not my last name. Not my father's money." Theo's voice cracked. "Does that change things?" Vanessa thought about Garrett, who led with his money, his status, his achievements, who made sure everyone knew exactly how successful he was. Then she looked at Theo, who'd spent 5 months helping her arrange tables, talking about children's books, holding her when she cried, never once mentioning that his family controlled an empire worth more than some countries. "No," she said. "It doesn't change anything." They were engaged for months later. The wedding was small. 60 people. Mostly family. Vanessa wore a dress she chose herself. William Ashford insisted on walking her down the aisle because her father had died when she was 22. "You're my daughter now," William said, his voice thick with emotion. "Not my daughter-in-law. My daughter. And anyone who hurts you will answer to me." Garrett Westfield never knew it happened. Vanessa had blocked him on everything. Moved on completely. When Vanessa became Vanessa Ashford, her life transformed overnight. Security details, media attention, events at the White House. But Vanessa didn't change. She kept working at the gallery, kept volunteering at literacy programs. The children she worked with didn't care that she was now married to a billionaire's son. They just cared that Miss Vanessa always had the best stories. For months into the marriage, Vanessa felt nauseous during a gallery opening. She excused herself, went to the bathroom, and took a pregnancy test she'd been carrying in her purse for 2 weeks, too terrified to use. 2 lines. Positive. Vanessa's hands shook so violently she dropped the test. She slid down the bathroom wall and cried. Not from joy, not yet, from terror, because the doctors had told her this would never happen. Because she'd been told her body was too broken, too damaged, too traumatized to carry life. Because some part of her still believed Garrett's voice. You'll kill this one too. She called Theo from the bathroom floor. I need you. 15 minutes later, Theo was there. Vanessa showed him the test, unable to speak. Theo's face went through a dozen emotions in seconds. Shock, fear, hope, determination, before settling on something fierce and protective. He knelt on the bathroom floor and took Vanessa's face in his hands. We're going to do this together. Every appointment, every moment, every fear. You're not alone. At 3 months, the doctors confirmed it. The pregnancy was healthy, stable, miraculous. At 5 months, Vanessa's bump started showing. She told the children at her literacy program she was going to be a mommy. They made her cards covered in glitter and misspelled words. Vanessa cried happy tears. William Ashford was beside himself with joy. His first grandchild, an heir to everything he'd built. He threw a small family dinner to celebrate, and when he toasted Vanessa, he said something that made her cry all over again. You've given this family something we didn't know we were missing. Not an heir, not a legacy, but hope. You've shown us that broken things can heal, that love is stronger than pain, that the best things in life aren't bought. They're built by people who refuse to give up. Vanessa was 7 months pregnant, glowing with a happiness she thought she'd never feel, when she decided to visit her mother in Queens. She needed to pick up some things. Oranges, ginger tea. The cravings were getting specific. She stopped at the corner grocery store, the same one she'd shopped at for years. She wore a comfortable navy maternity dress, hair in a ponytail. No makeup, no security detail for once. She'd convinced Theo she just needed an hour to feel normal. And then Garrett happened. Now, sitting in the back of Theo's Mercedes, covered in mud, still shaking from the encounter, Vanessa watched her husband make a phone call. Dad, Theo said, his voice calm but lethal. I need you to pull every file we have on Westfield properties. Every contract, every loan, every government deal. I need to know who they're in bed with and who owes us favors that intersect with their business. There was a pause. William's voice came through the speaker, sharp and alert. What happened? Someone hurt Vanessa. Someone needs to learn what happens when you hurt my family. Another pause. Then William's voice, cold as ice. Give me 2 hours. I'll have everything. Took 90 minutes. By the time they arrived back at the Ashford residence, a historic brownstone in Brooklyn Heights worth $20 million, Theo's team had compiled a file on Garrett Westfield that would have made the FBI jealous. Vanessa sat in their bedroom, showered and changed into warm clothes, while Theo sat beside her on the bed, laptop open, going through the information. Westfield Properties has $420 million in outstanding loans, Theo said quietly, reading from the screen. 60% of their projects are funded through Citibank and Morgan Stanley, both of which have significant business relationships with Ashford Global. They have 3 major government contracts for affordable housing developments in Brooklyn and the Bronx, all approved by city council members my father personally donated to. He scrolled further. Garrett's personal net worth is estimated at $73 million, most of it tied up in property and company stock. If his company takes a hit, he takes a hit. Vanessa looked at him, fear mixing with something else, something that felt dangerous and satisfying. Theo, what are you going to do? Theo closed the laptop and took her hand. I'm going to make 3 phone calls. That's it. Just 3. And then I'm going to let the natural consequences of Garrett's cruelty play out exactly the way they should. I don't want you to destroy him because of me, Vanessa whispered. I don't want you to become like him. Theo turned to face her fully, his eyes soft but absolute. Baby, I'm not becoming like him. Men like Garrett use their power to hurt people weaker than them. Men like me use our power to protect the people we love and hold accountable the people who deserve it. There's a difference. The next morning, Theo made his 3 phone calls. The first was to the CEO of Citibank, a man who owed the Ashford family more favors than he could count. I need you to review all outstanding loans to Westfield Properties. Pay special attention to ethical violations and risk assessment. And I need it done publicly. The second was to the mayor of New York City, a woman whose campaign William Ashford had personally funded to the tune of $15 million. There's a video circulating of a developer harassing a pregnant woman in the street. I think the city should review all contracts with companies that demonstrate that kind of ethical bankruptcy. The third call was to the head of the New York Real Estate Board. Garrett Westfield assaulted my pregnant wife yesterday. It's on video. I think the board should be aware that one of its prominent members is abusing women in public. I'll be sending you the footage. That was it. 3 phone calls. 15 minutes total. And then Theo sat back and watched the dominoes fall. By that afternoon, the video of Garrett splashing mud on Vanessa had gone viral. 23 million views. The comments were vicious. Who does this to a pregnant woman? This man is a psychopath. I hope he loses everything. Then someone recognized Vanessa from a charity event photo with Theo and William Ashford. Wait, that's Vanessa Ashford. She's married to Theodore Ashford. That's William Ashford's daughter-in-law. The story exploded across every news outlet in America. Billionaire property developer humiliates pregnant daughter-in-law of William Ashford. Real estate mogul caught on camera mocking ex-wife carrying Ashford heir. Garrett's phone exploded with calls. His PR team, his lawyers, his board members, all panicking. By the next morning, Garrett received the first blow. Citibank called. All loans under immediate review. Ethical violations. Risk assessment triggered. $520 million in credit frozen. Garrett tried calling his banking contacts. No one answered. By the afternoon, the second blow landed. The mayor's office released a statement. All city contracts with Westfield Properties suspended pending ethics investigation. $300 million in government deals. Gone in one press release. By evening, the New York Real Estate Board announced an emergency hearing to review Garrett Westfield's membership and conduct. Garrett's stock crashed 38% in one day. But Theo wasn't finished. Because 3 weeks later, William Ashford stood before 500 of New York's most powerful people at a charity gala broadcast live on CNN. Vanessa stood beside Theo, glowing in a midnight blue gown that perfectly showed her 8-month bump. She looked radiant, strong, loved. Tonight, William said, his voice filling the room, I'm honored to announce that my daughter-in-law Vanessa is carrying my first grandchild, a boy. We're naming him William Theodore Ashford. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed, but William wasn't finished. This child represents everything my family values. Integrity, compassion, respect. Which is why I want to be clear. His voice dropped, became steel. Anyone who disrespects my family, who would harm my daughter or endanger her child, will face the full weight of the Ashford name and everything we've built over 3 generations. Everyone in that room knew exactly who he was talking about. 9 million viewers watched it live. Garrett sat alone in his emptying Midtown office, soon to be seized by creditors, and watched Vanessa, his ex-wife, the woman he called infertile and worthless, standing in a room filled with the most powerful people in America, carrying the Ashford heir, loved and protected and radiant. Within 4 weeks, all of Garrett's government contracts were terminated. His company was sold to pay off debts. Crystal left him for a hedge fund manager. He was forced to sell his penthouse, his car, his art collection. Garrett Westfield, once worth $73 million, now works as a consultant making $95,000 a year, living in a modest apartment in Jersey City, driving a Honda Civic and watching from a distance as his ex-wife became one of the most beloved figures in New York society. While Vanessa Ashford became everything Garrett said she could never be. A mother, a philanthropist, a woman who used her platform to help other women who'd been told they were broken. Her son, William Theodore Ashford, was born healthy and perfect 6 weeks later. 8 pounds, 3 ounces. A miracle the doctors said had a 4% chance of happening. Garrett didn't just lose Vanessa. He lost everything. And Vanessa didn't need revenge. She just needed to survive long enough to watch karma arrive in a Mercedes with diplomatic plates. The Bible says in Proverbs 6 verse 27, "Can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes being burned?" Garrett scooped cruelty and reaped ashes. Vanessa sowed humility and reaped a kingdom. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories that remind us that character, not wealth, determines our destiny. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and share this with someone who needs to remember that broken things can heal and that sometimes the best revenge is just living well. See you in the next one. Thank you for watching.